Hello bakers and welcome back to my channel. Today we have an extra special video for you, and that's because I'm starting off a new mini-series inspired by the latest and greatest music videos. First up is Troye Sivan, who has just released a brand new video for his single Lucky Strike. Now this is actually my favourite single from the album Bloom, so I am so happy it's got such an incredible music video too, and I couldn't resist starting off the series with this cake. So we're going to take all of the amazing colours and vibes from the music video and turn it into something that you can eat. We're making this Lucky Strike cake with a vanilla cherry sponge, bright red buttercream, and decorated as Troye Sivan's shirt from the music video. Oh, and we've even got a little fondant beach bar to top it all off. Now I absolutely love the visuals from this video, and the colour red pops throughout for romance, but it's also my favourite colour, so I'm very happy to include it into my cake. We're going to start things off with a vanilla sponge with lots of cherries inside, which are going to be speckled throughout to match the video. To begin, cream your butter and sugar in a bowl until light and fluffy. You want to crack your eggs and whisk them together until nice and combined. Slowly pour the eggs into your mix, adding in a spoonful of flour one at a time if it begins to curdle. Keep on adding until all your eggs are combined and beat until smooth. Next you want to add in the rest of your flour, vanilla extract and mixed spice and mix this together. For our cherries, we're going to dice these by cutting them into quarters or eighths depending on how big you want the pieces to be. Before we add these into our cake mix, I'm going to pop them into a bowl and add in 2 tablespoons of flour to stop them from sticking to each other, but also to make sure they don't sink to the bottom. Add these cherries into your cake mix and then fold through. We're going to make 4 sponges, so I folded some baking paper together, traced around the baking tin and cut out our sheets so we can do it all in one go. Grease your tin with some butter, add in your baking paper and then your cake mix. I'll use an ice cream scoop to make sure we get some nice even layers. Smooth these over and then bake them in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes until a skewer comes out clean. Now a key prop that is in the music video is the beach bar, which is where Troye meets his love interest, so I'm going to make a really cute fondant beach bar to go on top of our cake. For the beach bar, I'm using modelling paste so it dries nice and solid and doesn't fall over. Warm the paste in your hand to make it easier to work with and then roll out to ½ centimetre thick. Cut out the front of your beach bar and then slice the 2 edges at the top to make your roof. You'll also need to cut out an opening in the middle. Next, I've cut out 2 strips to make the support on the side and a thin strip to form our ledge. Next we need to dye some paste red and then use it to cut out the letters B-A-R to go on top. Leave these to dry for at least 8 hours until they're nice and hard. Once they're ready, you can use some edible glue to stick these together. First the ledge onto the front of the beach bar and then the letters on top. Once that's all dry, flip it over and then glue your supports to the back. You'll want to hold these in place just until they start to harden up, and then you can use a weight to hold it in place while it dries out fully. I must admit that when I first heard Lucky Strike, I didn't actually know what they were. At first I thought they were cereal, but then realised that's Lucky Charms. So I was like, are they a sweet or a chewing gum? So I did actually have to Google it and found out they were cigarettes, which I didn't realise, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. So if you didn't know what Lucky Strikes were either, then comment down below and join my fun club of people who are obviously too innocent to listen to Troye. I mean, next we're going to find out that Bloom's not a song about flowers. While the cakes are cooling, make your buttercream by whisking your butter in a bowl. Add in half your icing sugar, ½ tablespoon of milk and ½ teaspoon of vanilla and then whisk together for 1 to 2 minutes. Add in the rest of your icing sugar and whisk for another 1 to 2 minutes. Finally, to make this pop red throughout our cake, I've added in a few drops of red food colouring and stirred it through until evenly combined. Once the cakes are cool, you can level them off so they're all nice and even. Place the first one down onto your cake board and add an even layer of your buttercream over the top. Spread this over using a spatula and then sandwich the next cake layer over that. You want to continue with this until all your sponges are nice and stacked. To help get a good finish, we're going to apply a thin crumb coat over the top just to make sure we trap all the crumbs in place. Once that's nice and evenly spread over, you want to chill this in the fridge for an hour until set. Once it's good to go, add a second thin layer on top and then chill again. Now for the base of the cake, we're going to decorate this to match Troy's shirt from the music video. So it's going to be a white shirt with some bold red stripes going down it, and we're going to also add in some details to bring out the buttons and the collar as well. Roll out your icing to 1/2 centimetre thick and then cut around a cake tin to match the top. Press this over the cake and then use a fondant smoother to secure it in place. Leave this to dry and then trim around the outsides just to make sure it's nice and flush. Next we want to cut out some more white fondant for his undershirt, so you can slice this into size and then add it onto your cake as well. For the side of the shirt, we're going to roll out a larger piece of white fondant and measure the circumference and height of our cake to make sure we get it the right size. Cut it down to match your measurements and then wrap it around the outside of the cake, pressing it into place. You can also use some edible glue to secure the front. Use your fondant smoother to press everything into place and make sure you get a nice smooth finish. To hide the seams at the top, I've mixed some fondant with a little bit of hot water until it forms a paste. You can then use this to fill in any of the gaps and grooves around the top. For our stitches and our buttons, I've made another strip of white fondant and cut out some round circles. For an added bit of detail, I've used a fondant scorer to make the stitch lines going up and down, and also added a crisscross onto the front of the buttons. As before, use some edible glue to stick these on. You want the strips to go up one side, 2 buttons on that strip, and then 2 buttons on the other side of the shirt. For our red strips, you want to roll out some fondant very thinly and then cut it into a rectangle. Next, slice it evenly to get your strips. You want to glue these onto the cake, cutting them down to size wherever necessary, and keep working your way around, trying to keep a nice even space in between each stripe. For the collar, I've also used some modelling paste just so we can lift it up and get a nice 3D effect. You want to measure the circumference of the cake again and then roll this out to that length. Trim down and angle the edges to get our nice collar shape, and then glue this to the sides of your cake. Allow it to dry for a couple of minutes and then lift the edges up so they hold in place. Again, to cover the seam between the collar and the top, I've used some fondant paste to fill in the gaps and cover up any of the red. Now the pattern of Troy's shirt also goes up the collar, so we're going to add some extra angled red stripes along that too. Now I really like the visual illustrations and the calligraphy in this video, so to bring that to life as well, we're going to write Lucky Strike on top using that iconic font. Make your icing with icing sugar, lemon juice and red food colouring, and then mix it together until nice and smooth. You want to pop this into a piping bag with a writing tip. I always find that it's best to practice on a piece of baking paper first before you go on to the real thing. Take your time and pipe out the letters Lucky Strike on top of your cake. To finish it off, I've got some extra vanilla buttercream and placed it into a piping bag. Pipe ruffles around the top of your cake and then top each of these with a cherry, which you can pretend are choice hearts if you want. I later decided that actually the icing at the front kind of covered up the Lucky Strike logo too much, so you'll see in a second that I took them off. Next, place your bar on top and press it down slightly to secure it in place. We're almost good to go, but before we do, we're going to add a final touch of some crushed biscuits onto the base so it looks like sand. And there you go. It doesn't taste like Lucky Strike cigarettes, but this Lucky Strike cake will give you a taste of summer in the middle of winter. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this Lucky Strike cake inspired by Troye Sivan's latest video. If you're a fan of the album Bloom and you like this recipe, leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you get an alert next time I post a video. That is all for now, but I'll see you next time.